All right. So good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is Cedric. This is Amanda.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to 2021 Diaries.
Entry three.
Yeah, entry three.
Entry
This is a
three.
special entry because this is the anniversary, right?
Right. When all
Right.
this started.
This is the anniversary of the day that a lot of our lives changed, and we didn't even realize. We thought this was going to be a 2 week ordeal, and here we are a year later, and a whole lot of other traumatic events, right? Because it wasn't just a pandemic that happened. There were a whole lot of other things, specifically social justice, related, racial that were happening. So this is. I can't believe it's been a year.
No.
I can't believe it.
And guys, today we have a special guest, and I will let her introduce herself. And today, as we move forward, we're going to talk about in Diary entry number 3. We want to talk about where we've been since this time last year. So I want to let our special guest introduce herself first, and then we'll go from there. So, Miss Linda, your pleasure.
Jump in, Linda. Let us know who you are. Give us a little background about you, a little piece of who Linda is.
Okay, awesome. First and foremost, thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here to have a discussion with y'all. But I am Linda, known Cedric for many years. I am a human service professional. I've worked in many facets of human services, from working with reentry individuals to foster care to individuals who have developmental disabilities. But who I am as a person,
That's what we want to know.
I like to, really look at life from a realistic perspective. But that's in the eyes of the beholder, because everybody has their own conception. But that's how I would describe myself, as a realist.
Awesome.
I agree.
I love it. Linda, we're so glad to have you here today. I don't know how much Cedric shared with you about PRN and what we do, but you definitely are part of the squad. You're part of the team. And people like us need people like you, because we need people to help us, with services and things of that nature. So yeah, we appreciate you being here with us this morning, and we're gonna dive in this thing. Cedric, on my way to work this morning, I thought, like, in my mind, the feeling that I felt was the same feeling that I felt on September 11th, when people all over the country are like, "Oh, do you remember where you were on September 11th?"
Right.
And we all have that, like, memory, right, of where we were and what happened. I was in, like, 10th grade geometry class.
During that time?
Yeah. We turned on the TV, and that's when we were seeing it, and we were just all, like, dumbfounded and like, wow, this is happening? Like, this is so wild.
I was a sophomore in college. I think, Linda, where were you during that time?
Yeah, so was I, Cedric. Yeah, I was in my international studies class.
Right.
So right, we all had this, like, instant recollection of, like, where we were, what that feeling was like, what we were doing, and I had that deja vu, that same, like, recollection of a year ago. So for us, not just as PRN, but as people, we were coming back from a conference at a hotel full of individuals, where we had heard talk about coronavirus and things of that nature, and we thought, we'll deal with it when we get back, right?
Yeah.
We have a conference every year around this time, recovery conference, and I remember riding back with the Cobra. I remember what I was feeling. I was thinking, what in the world is going on
right
now?
Is the world about to end? Is this the rapture? Like, is this how it's about to go down?
Right. So, Linda, where were you during that time?
Mm-hmm. During that time, I was actually at work. I was like, is this real? What is it? And honestly, I was like, oh, it'll pass. It's like the flu. But as time passed, it was like, no, this is more than it. But I was at work, and it was I guess at the time when I was informed about it, reality hadn't sunk in. I had realized and people mentally, financially, and just the
Yeah, I think I know for sure that I was in that same boat. I didn't realize how it was gonna affect so many facets of daily life and people. Now, like I always joke, so I'm a reentering person. That's part of my story. So since day one, I've joked that like prison prepared me for this. Like I'm ready to be in the house. I can do this. It's not a problem. I can live off ramen noodles. Like we're gonna get
yeah.
We'll be okay, right?
yeah, right. And not everybody felt that way. And I started to social media is a blessing and a curse, right? I started to like read all these like people that mattered in my life and the fear that they were feeling and they were being honest and vulnerable about social media. Wherever you stand, about COVID, you feel how you feel, and my empathy for individuals just grew, and I really had a different understanding of trauma too. I started to realize that we were experiencing a traumatic event.
Right. Globally.
Yeah, we were all being affected by trauma. And some of us were fighting, some of us were flighting, and some of us were running toward the fire. And wherever you were, that's okay, because trauma affects us differently, right?
It does.
But it was very eye-opening for me, how people were dealing with that. How were some of the people in your life, how were some of the people that you were connected to, that you were, seeing, wherever you were seeing people, whether that was social media or in person at work, how were people around you, how were they reacting to it and stuff? And how did their reactions change how you kind of felt about what was happening?
Initially, it was mixed. I think people were allowing it to kind of manifest that this was a real pandemic. Because again, when we first heard about it, I don't think, even for myself, didn't sink in that this is something that can take many, many lives away. This is something that can really have impact on people, family, we function, even just like with schools, kids not being able to go to school, just it caused a lot of change. I'll say that. So it sunk in when, for me, niece caught COVID, and she, in my opinion, was one of the first cases. She caught it. I think we found out about COVID the end of March. My niece caught COVID the beginning of the middle. No, was it March or February or somewhere around there? But she caught it when we first heard about it. And what it propelled me to do was really do a lot of research on, okay, how can I, because it didn't really sink in as being something that was very serious until it hit home, and I saw the impact it had on her body, and just, how she was feeling and how sickly she was for a good 2 weeks. So once I saw that and had a real life experience with it, then it changed my perspective and was like, hey, this is something that's real. We really have to be mindful and figure out what we can do to make sure we protect each other. So for me, it sunk in once it hit home. And that's unfortunate because I hear that a lot of times, even among friends. I know that COVID is out there, but until you lose someone or until it really hits home, then you don't really know how the severity of this, COVID is. So I'll say, I think my experience has been just, it doesn't sink in until it hits home for some people. And that's the unfortunate part, because at that particular time, sometimes it's like, are there some things we could have done to kind of, have prevented that from happening so it wouldn't hit so close to home. But in my niece's case, she was in New Orleans for Mardi Gras. And she was in Mardi Gras, came back home, and her 3 roommates started feeling sick after Mardi Gras and flew back to the U.S. That's when flights were still going. The country hadn't shut down at that point. So when she got back home, she was feeling really sick. And we were like, we're talking about something called COVID here. Are you have any symptoms? And come to find out it was. So I say sometimes people just don't realize how severe it is until it hits. I was kind of a part of that. But in my case, yes, because it hit home so soon, my reality came a lot sooner than maybe some other people's.
I mean, lived experience, right? Lived experience is the greatest teacher and motivator. So I'm gonna jump from COVID to a year from yesterday. Breonna Taylor was also murdered in her apartment by the police. So on top of COVID, we also had this one more member of the Black community who was, doing absolutely normal things, right? She was asleep in her home and was shot and killed. And so it came up on a year with that as well. And at the same time, now we have the Derek Chauvin murder trial happening. And the information around the settlement with George Floyd. What has a year of, and this is for both of y'all, Cedric wasn't aware I was going to bring this one up. So, so this is kind of one for both of y'all. How has 2020 and 2021, I don't even know how to frame the question, but I feel like you get where I'm going, right? How has that changed? How's that manifested? How has that affected all the other things that are happening, right? A lot of traumatic stuff was happening at one time. How are we processing this stuff? How are we feeling? What's going on?
Then you want to go first?
I'll say, Cedric, if you don't mind me going. Yeah. As an African American woman, and this is speaking from my experience cultural wise and my connection with my culture. It was a lot to digest all in one year. From trying to wrap my brain around COVID, even for me trying to how to, the U.S., killing so many people. So from that to even understanding, okay, I got a grandmother who's older. I want to see her many, many years to come. How can we safeguard her? To the reality of the racial experiences that unfortunately people in our community experience, like the George Fords and the Breonna Taylor. It was a lot to wrap my brain around. What it did bring to me, or it's not what it had to think about, okay, here we are in 2020, and I hope we had come a long way from like 1960s. These things are still existing. So how do we move forward, and how do I say this? Like, how do I help the kids and the adults that I interact with understand the reality of this situation, because it could have been them, and how do we do to support each other and move forward? So it was a lot going on in my brain, and even now I'm still asking myself those questions, like, what can we do collectively as a community? And one thing I do appreciate that I feel like is different is a lot of things exposed as far as people's are they being exposed, but things are being done about it. Whereas a lot of times, like back in the day, I felt like it was swept under the rug. But now I'm hearing more instances and stories on the news where people are being, suspended suspended, or what's the word? Like officers there, administrative leave with pay while investigation. So to me, that's one step forward, because at least now it's not being swept under the rug, actually listening and trying to do something about it. Not saying we're gonna outcome that we would want. These voices are now being heard a little more than they were before.
And you know, I'm going to add to what you were saying. I've felt, I'm going to be very real and transparent, but I have felt a sense of pain, you know, from the core, because just to see people have to, the George Floyd situation resonates with me, because I still see the image. I still see the image where you have the cop that's there holding his physical body on this guy's neck, who clearly couldn't breathe. And I often find myself now watching documentaries about white and black and how we can bring this together. But I really truly believe it starts with the individual. And so COVID has given me the opportunity and the time to self-evaluate. We've had so much in time alone, and with, you know, even, you know, I can share that experience too. Linda, you said something that hit home. You said we really don't understand it until it hit home. Well, it hit home for me because my mother had it. And I was very nervous. Because I remember the call when she called me and said she tested positive for it. And I'm thinking, oh, but I can now say he's COVID free. And I remember during the times where I cried, worried. I called her every day. All right. And then in addition, we have, you know, just to kind of help her bring her back to life and just have that faith, you know, as a black man too. That's the same type of feelings where I felt, you know, seeing my mom in that situation, but seeing us as a people, having to go through those things and this feeling of being hated on because of the color of your skin. We have yet to get past that. That starts with the person looking themselves in the mirror and saying to themselves, first you gotta love you, because if you can't love you, you can't love anybody else. You know, and I think about even with the most recent situation. I know you brought up current events. Meghan and I think her name is Meghan Markle, the
Prince Harry.
Yeah, though that whole experience. Just to hear Meghan say that she contemplated suicide.
Yeah.
So I felt various feelings and emotions, but I always say, you know what? I'm still going to show love, because love resonates in me, and that's what I'm doing. And that's what this time alone, this time with COVID, has opened my eyes to just really, really be thankful for life, be grateful for these little things. This time that we can spend with each other, and this time that we can just be grateful, be thankful, because we're here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that that's really something that I learned from 2020 and 2021, which everything is happening. You know, life is right. It does, you know, it can come and go quickly. I don't personally have anyone that I am attached to that was affected by COVID. However, my coworkers will probably tell you that I probably had it before they came out. In February, I had went to New York. I flew and I came home right before the conference, and actually during the conference too, and was really, really sick. And that was before they did all the testing and stuff. I also, you know, my mindset was also like, man, I made it through prison. I can make it through anything. Like, really, that's where my mind was. And so, you know, my precautions were for my community, right? Because not everyone, you know, was able to be as resilient as I was able to be, right? Good morning, Nikki. I appreciate you being here. Darlene, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
I'm glad y'all are checking in and joining us this morning. If you're just checking in, we're kind of like reminiscing on a year ago. And this is the year anniversary of COVID and a few other major life events. So we reminisced on what was happening, where we were at, what we felt like, what was going on in our lives, and how we coped, how people were affected in our lives, how that affected us, right? We talked about all that good stuff. Now here we are a year later, right?
You know what? I think, because I know the three of us have, because we're all changing. And let's talk about where are we now?
Yeah.
Because Amanda, you know, just learned some information about you today, and you know, you've been vaccinated, you've had the second vaccine.
Yeah.
You know, I think that shows a sense of responsibility that you've already taken, you know, along this journey. As I'm next, I gotta go for mine, you know, but that just shows a sense of responsibility. And Miss Linda, where are you today? You know, are you going to
I'll be part of group. Yes, but unfortunately, I think I'm a part of maybe like group 5 or 6. Don't quote me, but I'm definitely not can get it right now. What I will say when we talk about where are we today, what I do think that COVID has, you know, propelled all of us to do is to have real conversations, to start to communicate. Because I'm not sure if pre-COVID, a lot of conversations that are transpiring today would be transpiring, to be honest. So I think it's causing people to, and calls could be, I don't want to sound negative because that's not my intention, but I think it's propelling us to really take a look at ourselves. And Cedric, you mentioned that. Look at your, like, take a look at us individually. Stand with the people who you care about. Where do you stand with where you with it has caused a lot of setbacks with people. So with setbacks comes, we hope, you know, parents, regrouping, figuring out, okay, how am I going to get through this, resiliency, and what do I need to do next? And I think what I like about all of that, because those are things that we've talked about a lot in mental health, and when we're dealing with, you know, families or, you know, ourselves. But what I really think COVID has done is really caused us to sit down and have like now having honest conversations with people, with friends, with families, with coworkers. And I think this is a good start because you can't address things until you are able to reflect and have dialogue.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that you know, COVID and the other things that occurred inside of that umbrella, right, have definitely opened a lot of individuals' eyes to the people around them. You know, whether that's family, friends, co-workers. You know, I think that there's been a light that has shined. Some accountability, maybe. You know, I think there's a lot of that. You know, you mentioned that earlier, Linda. The accountability that people are getting called out on their stuff. You know, and I don't know if that happened in the past, you know, but I think social media for that, because though it gives us the ugly, it also gives us a chance to have those conversations, and whether someone can receive that conversation right or not is not my problem. But I know that I can deliver it in love, and I can deliver it from an eye and a lens of care and of genuine love for that individual. And if they can't receive it, that's on them. But I think that this is definitely taking the blinders off of a lot of people that you just couldn't keep them on anymore.
Right.
You didn't have an excuse anymore to keep them on. You couldn't use some of the things that you used in the past to maintain the same mindset. And I think that that's what happens when we all go through the same experience. We may have different, so like there's a meme I read on Facebook, and it's we may all be in the same storm, but we all have different equipment. And what that meant was like, I may have a raincoat, Cedric may have an umbrella, but if it's flooded and you have a boat, like you got it made, girl. You know, we may be in the same together, but we're all coping with it differently. But I think that there's value in going through all this together, as a country and as a world.
COVID has really brought to a certain degree, and let me tell you, because I can say that just from my own personal experience, and I'm not sure if anybody that's watching wants to chime in and just kind of comment on if COVID has brought you and your family together. But for me and mine, it has brought us together to where we can have dialogue. And I say that because just the other day, my brother and our nieces were on FaceTime. And our nephew, and this is my great nephew, so it's my niece and my sister's children, right? And so I found them asking us questions about our family that they didn't know. And so think about how spending time now, because we just didn't do it.
Right.
And now since
we were too busy, right?
We were too busy, quote unquote, too busy to do it. But this has sat us down, and now that everybody can FaceTime each other, you know, now here we are, we're looking at each other and smiling and grinning, and we're having dialogue. So I can appreciate it bringing up my family close together.
Yeah.
For the most part. We got a long way to go.
You already know where I'm at right now.
You know, a long way to go. But however, it brought us together, at least where we can have relationship and dialogue with cases.
Yeah.
When, you know, if God forbid if something happened, they would at least have the information. And I think that helps maintain the connection and the hope.
What I hear is that in the midst of this, you and other people in your life have been able to reframe what's important to you. I think that, especially us as,
I think it's let people
professionals, right? I think it's hard sometimes to have that work-life balance and to put value in those people in our lives. Has your development with your family relations changed through COVID? Do you find that you have a closer relationship, or was that something that you already had before, Linda?
Every family has its 1 month you might be close. Next month it might be different, but
right.
I think that because I think it's propelled everybody to develop close relations. Like, look at how you develop relationships and go back to the fundamentals of relationships, if you ask me. And I think that's what happened. My family and I communicate, and it's even my grandmother how to utilize technology, because we do FaceTime, but she still puts the phone to her ear. And it's like, face. So she's like, oh, so I don't have to put it to my ear. No, look at it so you can see his face. So I think it's in the midst of being a pandemic, it is propelled all of us to grow. And what I hope, if you ask me, and for me and my family, it's helped us grow in the sense of going back to the basics of how you build a relationship, communication. Because if I can't see you, then what we got to do? We have to talk. So if we can't get together because we be in this space, then we got to talk. So I think it took us all back to the fundamentals, and that's what I have to say. My grandmother, we 90, my grandmother how to FaceTime to. Well, we may have to upgrade our phones to iPhone 7s not 11. Out of 11. So we can FaceTime. It's just brought a new sense of, I think, connection and just back to the basics. And I don't think people realize that it's really making us go back to the basics, but it is.
You know, I like that.
And
You know what? You know, my mom did learn how to use FaceTime.
She sure did. Let me tell you, Cedric and I were together several times, and his mama would FaceTime at least 3 times. Over several times. And she said, I'm going to call my mama FaceTime, and that's the only way she calls her.
I'm like, come on, man.
So grandma's like, yeah. So I think it forces us to grow to a certain degree, because I still like, she'll be hello, here's FaceTime. She hello, no, mom, like this. So then you have to remind her. Yeah, it just forced us to grow, and that's right. Yeah, so I think in the midst of the storm, it's always beauty.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And you know, I can appreciate the storm.
Yeah.
I've learned to find appreciation in the storm, because when you come out of it, you've grown, you've gained something new. You gain a new strength, you gain a new tool. You know, I feel like through this whole year that I have been able to elevate in a level of, even though I've been through some things, we've all been going through things, but you find a way, we've elevated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Tia had a comment. Let's see, Tia, you want to go down to your comment in the chat? I can't see her.
Still up right on the screen too.
I saw her here, but it went away. But I mean, I'm just saying I had that opportunity.
Oh, it's my email, y'all.
Oh, okay. I had that opportunity.
Technology is still kicking our butt sometimes, though. Like,
yeah, it is.
It's so funny how we have Zoom meetings, though, and we still forget to unmute ourselves. A year later, we're still having some of those struggles. And it's times like that I can't do anything but laugh and find, you know, that beauty. Like, man, this is still a good time.
Still a good time. And you know what else?
Yeah.
Well, that I'm thinking about, man, too. We've been able to use more, like tap into more resources. Let's talk a little bit about resources.
It definitely changed the way we did our job, right?
How resources have actually brought us together even closer, even more. You know, just even my role here at PRA with Tennessee and employment, just that whole dual role like that helps us to look at and support people holistically.
Yeah.
You know, through housing needs, through employment needs, through the back end, emotions back here. We talk about certain things, through the family struggles. Like, I really like the fact that we can work and support, but look at people's situations in our household and help them with like holistic approach. Even if they, you know, in your role as director of community, you know, that your role, and then working with the folks in the court system, and then Linda, your role, your hats you were working with folks, because I think you were working with.
She said all of them. She said everywhere. I know that's right.
Can you give some background on now, right now, and what you did previously, talking about how you've been an asset to the community as a resource, or just sharing your experiences with resources?
I guess the bigger question is, how has COVID changed how you do your job? Air 5.
That's a great question. Great question. I'll start out by saying this. How does COVID change how you look for a job? If I might say that. Just because it was a reality shock for me to lose a job due to COVID. Considering I'm in the field of human services, and not just one, but two. So me being a professional, with a dog and no kids, it really, I'm already a humble person, but it made me really sit back and say, if I am experiencing a plethora of emotions, losing my job, but still having of uncertainty, what the families I've worked with feel like right now. So it was really, really has made you, like, when you don't have nothing but time on your hand, unfortunately, and you're not in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, it gives you time to be able to reflect and put yourself in other people's shoes. And it was like, wow. It was a wow factor for me. I already do not understand to a degree what our families are going through, but to just experience it myself. So to answer your question, what has it done for me and how I job? One, I've lost two, but it has allowed me to really have more appreciation. I already had it because of personal experiences, but more of an in-depth appreciation for our families who are making minimum wage and still pushing to make ends meet, because like it's serious out here. And I'm sorry to use a term like that, but it is, and it's like, wow, kids, and you don't, and minimum way it is, and it, even like working with my reentry adults. So me, that was another humbling experience to say, wow, we're in the midst of COVID and you can't even qualify for health insurance, let alone, I mean, you can get it through Obamacare, but let alone, or affordable, but can you afford it making all the hours? So it was just a reality check. Wow. When I think for myself, things are so bad. So it just said, wow, really wasn't that bad compared to what families and low income clients go through on a daily basis. It really wasn't. Like it's like, wow, like it's a struggle. It was a struggle for me. So just think about making minimum wage with a family.
I think it definitely, changed the lens in which a lot of people viewed other folks that were going through some stuff. I think that, some people that experienced some unknown privileges got to, experience some of the things that other individuals have been experiencing for a long time throughout this, and it's changed the lens in which we see other people. Because like the recurring thing that keeps coming up is when things affect us, we learn, going through things is the greatest teacher. And so I definitely think, I definitely think that, it's changed, even for me as a person, with lived experience of making minimum wage and being fresh out of prison, and, I can't imagine that experience happening right now. And I can't imagine me being that person fresh out right now in today's current environment or the environment a year ago. And so that really, it concerns me. I'm glad that the governor is releasing individuals who are high risk that are incarcerated. I'm so glad that those individuals are going to have a chance to get out. But it makes me fearful because we have nothing in place for them. It's things we're advocating for. I know that, me as a person with lived experience, I'm involved with other people that have lived experience. In fact, if you're on Facebook, there's a group called Pure Justice Initiative. It's consumer ran. What that means is that it's ran by people with lived experience. And we are pushing and fighting for prison reform and forensic peer support in the state, and putting together a proposal around helping those individuals. But if if the system doesn't value the lived experience of a person, you know, to give them the means to help other people, what are these people going to do? You know, are they really going to be any better off coming out than they were while incarceration? We see this now here in Charlotte with the now it's the hotel project. You know, those individuals. The reality is that people coming out of incarceration are 13 times more likely to experience homelessness than any other group of people. We also know that Black and brown people are most affected by incarceration. So what does that tell us about these people, right?
Oh, the system.
Right. Well, we already know about the system, right? But like, here's your sign, y'all. Like, you know, we search for that. Here's your evidence. This is what numbers tell us. And I couldn't imagine being one of those numbers right now.
That would be hard.
I agree. It is. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, Linda, did you have anything?
Because I'll say my last job. I didn't hear you, Cedric. I'm sorry.
No, you were saying something about your last job. I didn't want to cut you off. I was asking you.
In my last job, yeah, I worked. Yes, I would like to share some resources. But I was seeing in my last job, it was a privilege to work with the individuals just to see their motivation. So, right, Amanda, the odds are really stacked against them. So, saw was we have to even do reform in the system as to how we support these individuals coming out. Housing, a huge factor. Well, not only just because of employment and the amount of money they make, you know, on a job because it's minimum wage, but because what they ask you when you know, it's like, are we really giving people a solid chance to show that they are worthy of a second chance? And that was very disheartening. But organizations, I will say, that I've come across is my last NCIA, that's National Institute on Center Alternatives. They offer individuals, not just coming out of incarceration, but just people who are looking to develop some type of a trade, specifically CL, automotive, and HVAC. So that's a good opportunity for people who are just trying to, you know, search for economic mobility. And then another one is called the Harvest Center. It is called the Harvest Center, and this is a new program I recently found out about. It's the Harvest Center of Charlotte, and they provide housing to individuals. So while you're going through your, if a person experiences business, they provide housing because, you know, small apartments that are available. And while you're going through housing, they also help you find employment, and employment that's also focused on ability. So I would encourage people to get those two programs because I didn't know about it, and I'm from Charlotte. I use the term that they're new to Charlotte because I think they've been around for a while, just wording out about those two programs.
Well,
but I do know NCIA is
in the chat, so I want to make sure that I got it right.
NCIA.
Yeah, sure. It's National NCIA, National Center on Institutions. It's a vocational program. They will help you get a vocation. You have to be in a certain income bracket. But if you are interested in CDL or automotive, that's an awesome program. Type in a private chat if this is where to do it.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. I just put it in the chat. I think yeah, it just showed up. So yeah, y'all check out those resources. You know that that's our thing here at PRN. We love to provide a platform for personal and determination skills to flourish and to grow. And economic mobility is definitely one way to become more self-dependent. I know that's been a big step in my personal wellness and recovery and re-entry is personal independence. And it's been a journey, y'all.
That is a journey for anybody.
It's a journey for anybody, but it's always worth it. Always worth it. Linda, I appreciate you being here with us so much. I appreciate you sharing your experience throughout 2020 and now into 2021 with us. I appreciate you being part of the PRN family because when you're here, you're family. We're like Olive Garden. And I wish all the best in the future, and I hope that our paths will cross again. Before we leave, I do want to shout out the Warm Line. Oh yeah, absolutely. I hope that you will come back and join us again in the future.
Please do.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody, we got a Warm Line. We've been doing this for almost a year at this point. Also, it's free, it's confidential, it's 24/7. What that means, you can call whenever you want to. When they ask what your name is, you can say I'd rather not say. And there's a listing here on the other end of that phone line. Just waiting to support you through whatever you're going through. That number's at the bottom of the screen. But it is 833-390-7728.
And then also too, if you guys have any questions in related to PRN,
we got Miss Kim at the front desk. Right.
So we have our front desk number here, and she's available Monday through Fridays, 8 to 4:30. Yep. And their number is 704-390-7709. Ms. Linda, you can pass that information along to the folks that you come in contact with throughout the country because everybody can utilize a resource.
Yeah.
And a listening voice. So the Warm Line is available, and we'll get someone on the phone. If you give our front desk a call, Miss Kim Porter is very, 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 very awesome about answering and sharing information with us. Okay? So I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else, Amanda?
I'm good. I just enjoyed this time that we've had together this morning. And I look forward to catching up for our 4th entry in April. So we're gonna see what's happening in entry number 4.
Well, Linda, if you have any questions, concerns, or give us a call, and I want to say thank you again for part of this chat, this entry today.
Yeah.
Welcome. And I believe
you did.
Yes, okay, so I put it in the right place. Okay, I sent it to you guys. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Let me know if you need anything because it's all about being family.
That's right.
And vice versa. So, like I said, we are here, your family. So just let us know how we can support you as well. All right, y'all.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you, Cedric. Have an awesome Saturday.
See you.